Hello, everyone from Chelsea Fan TV. I hope you're all doing very, very well. Welcome back to another episode of 3 Points Perspective, the show where we go through a number of points, and obviously you've got three opinions to go through as well. Big up to yourself, Charlie and Nina. Thanks so much for coming on. A huge weekend coming up. Obviously, we've got Nottingham Forest in a couple of days on Sunday. And then obviously not long after that, we've got the Conference League final, all within quick succession. Can I just mention as well that Real Betis are playing in the Spanish League today. They have 2 days extra rest compared to us for the Conference League final. I heard the press conference from Maresca, and I completely agree with what he said. I think it's crazy. I don't know how they have an extra 2 days of rest. So I don't know if did you guys know that, or what's your thoughts on that, just to kick us off?
Well, mate, they obviously La Liga moved the game for them. Betis have got nothing to play for, and I don't think the other team they're playing has got anything to play for. And European leagues will always do stuff to help teams that are in their finals. It's obviously unfair. It's not an ideal situation, and I totally agree that it is ridiculous. However, you could also argue if we'd actually sorted out the Champions League before this final day, then we could have just sent the reserves out and rested everyone for the final. So you can look at it both ways. Whilst it's unfair and it shouldn't really be allowed, on the flip side, if we'd just got the points that we should have done and not dropped points in stupid games, then we could have filled the reserves anyway.
I echo everything Charlie said. I was going to say, I think there's no point of dwelling on this because we put ourselves in this position, as I've been saying all week for the last 2 weeks. So, yeah, I mean, we're not going to sit and moan that our opponent in the final has 2 days extra to rest. Okay, fine. It would have been nice. But at the end of the day, I'd like to say there's still a disparity between our two clubs, and we still have a lot more quality, and we've spent a lot more money, and we have done so for forever, more than Betis anyway. So, I think we shouldn't be going into this saying, we had 2 days less to rest, so we might not actually get into this one very well. I don't personally think it's a great excuse, but I think our finals on Sunday, personally, there's a lot more pressure on that one, and you kind of look ahead to Wednesday as, okay, cool, but we need to get a job done, and that's get back into the Champions League, and that is all on Sunday.
Yeah, I can't believe it. We've literally got 2 finals. One is actually a final, but the other one just feels like it. Nottingham Forest is obviously a big game last season, but it seems even bigger now. And almost, I wouldn't say a little rivalry between the two sides, but I could see us having quite a good few games over the years against Forest anyway, because I like what they're doing. I can see what they're building. Obviously, they're going to be in Europe next season. I hope Nuno does stay. I don't know. Do you know what it is? Like, not every team. You don't want every team to play the same way, and sometimes it's nice to have a team in there, unique, doing something different. No, not everybody needs to have possessions. Do you know what? I like a bit of counter-attacking football every now and again. And I know it can have its faults, especially when you've got to break down a low block, etc. But the way they play, I think they've been really entertaining this season.
That's not sustainable, though. That won't be sustainable next season to carry on playing like that.
I think without new signings, they'll definitely struggle, and they'll have injuries as well.
And you've noticed with the teams that they've played recently that they've lost against, the likes of Everton, likes of Brentford and whatnot at home, they've lost coming up against low possession teams. So they don't do well against teams that play with a similar way against them, which is why potentially, because we like to have a lot of the ball and stuff, they could if you were purely looking at it from a matchups perspective, you would fancy them to maybe do well against us because of the way that we play now and the way that we like to have so much of the ball. And we just got to be wary of that counter-attacking threat, with Elanga, with Gibbs White, with Callum Hudson-Odoi. Chris Wood scored 20 Premier League goals this season. They've got threats there. The defence is decent. Murillo and Milinkovic have been an outstanding partnership. Matt Sells has been brilliant in goal. So, the onus is going to be on us to break them down. And with no striker, that's going to be quite difficult. And there's not that many goals in the team anyway, even if we did have a striker.
Yeah, I especially when we talk about Sells, he was literally our asset. He was Blue Coast asset, and we decided to sell him on. So when everyone complains about the goalkeeper, another player that could have been a Chelsea player, and we wouldn't be having this conversation about Sanchez and Jorgensen. And again, probably would have wrapped up top four, to be fair, even with a goalkeeper. That would have been enough, just based on the mistakes that I think have been made this season. But yeah, I don't know. I'm feeling hopeful. I don't think confident is the right word coming into the Forest game. I'm feeling hopeful. And my head says that we're gonna draw. I don't think we'll lose. My head says we'll draw 2-2. My heart says that we're gonna win 2-1. Another dramatic game, a bit like last season. And obviously we are back this weekend. So if you are feeling confident, guys, build your own bet with 7bet. Scorers, bookings, corners, all in one go. You can even bet live while the game is on as well. And if we go 2 goals up, you get paid early. Check out 7bet.co.uk. The link is in the description. There's also a QR code which you can scan. 18 plus only. Bet responsibly. Be gamble aware as well. So shout out to 7bet. I mean, what's your score predictions going into this one, guys? Are you a bit like me, or because I'll be honest with you, I am riding on hope. I don't really have much more to offer than that.
No, mate, I agree. Like, it's one of them where you sort of hope we can do it, but when you sort of really think about it, it's going to be very, very difficult. I think, you look at our away form this year. One win in 2025 on the road against Fulham a few weeks back. Arguably didn't really deserve that either. It was a bit of a smash and grab in the last sort of 5-10 minutes. I think we're 1 win in our last 11 away games. It's going to be an intimidating atmosphere. The City ground's going to be rocking. Last time we turned up for an intimidating atmosphere was Newcastle, and we shit ourselves and had an absolutely disastrous start and disastrous.
Maybe we need to get someone sent off, Charlie, and we'll play.
Yeah, better. I mean, the last thing we can do here is concede an early goal. We cannot afford to go 1 down. I think this game will be decided probably by 1 goal. If we go down one goal early doors, I don't back us to score twice in this game. I really don't. So whilst I think we can do it and we're capable, the evidence would suggest it's going to be a tough ask. And man, I'm nervous about this one. It's the waiting around that I'm not enjoying. It just feels like this week's been pretty slow. You're just waiting and waiting for basically 6 days that are going to define the season. Not only define the season, they're going to define potentially the summer transfer window and could have a massive impact on next season as well. Like, it wouldn't be ridiculous to say. Well, it would be ridiculous to say, given the circumstances we've been used to previously. But these 2 games coming up now are 2 of the biggest games in Chelsea's recent history. And that's mad when you say a game against Nottingham Forest and a Conference League final against Betis. But these are 2 of the biggest games in our recent history.
Yeah. Nina?
Yeah. Damn, that sounded really intense there at the end, but I guess there is an element of truth to it because it does decide what next season looks for us, as you say. So yeah, I echo both of you guys. I think I am nervous. I don't really ever get nervous with football games, but I am nervous about this one. Confidence, why would we really have that much confidence when we know how our season has been so up and down? We don't often rise to the occasion. Sometimes we make it so difficult for us when it just needs to be done. I think with Forest, there will be a massive deal with who scores first, because if we find ourselves in a situation where we go 1-0 down, I think that becomes an even almost impossible game for us as such, because mind you, yes, it's been difficult for us to outscore our opponents, but to come back in games has also been difficult. And, I don't want it to be a situation when we go into half time, we're 1-0 down and we're having to win a game in the second half. That's a lot of pressure. And then actually Forest can pretty much sit back at us and watch us suffocate. So it's not an ideal situation. I think we need to score first in order to have a chance in this one. I do think Forest will come out and give us a game though, because there is incentive there for them. For them it's also about relying on other teams as such, yes, but you know, they will see Chelsea as an opportunity to have a go. They have beaten, you know, some of the best teams in the league this season. And, you know, in hindsight, the 1-1 draw was a good result for us, wasn't it? At the time, we were a little bit unhappy, but Forest went on to do wonders in the season. So it's honestly massive. And like Charlie said, I didn't ever think we'd be in a situation where there'd be this much at stake against Nottingham Forest last day of the season. But there is. So that's why for me, yeah, I want to win the Conference League final, but, you know, we should be doing both. But for me, there's more emphasis on Sunday because it means that we never hopefully get to where we are on Wednesday, you know, in that final, in that competition, because that's our kind of get out of jail card there on Sunday. So like Alex, I think you summed it up perfectly, you know, not confident, but hopeful. I second that.
Given how inconsistent we've been, like, I could easily see us turning up and winning like we could literally pull something out of the bag and win 2 or 3-0, and it wouldn't be like, oh my God, how have we done that? But then I could also equally see us turning up and just collapsing and losing 2 or 3-0. Like, both scenarios I could see as being potentially equally likely. And, you know, this group hasn't really proven that they can rise to the occasion in big pressure moments, especially away from home. We're still looking for a big win away from home this season, and we're still looking for a big win away from home just in general over the last few seasons. So I know it might sound mad saying this would be a statement win, but it actually would be. It would be, given what's on the line, given the pressure, and given the fact that, you know, we haven't won a massive game away from home for a while, and this would be absolutely huge. And I think not that we necessarily need it, but it would give us a big spring in our step and a big boost going into Wednesday night.
Can I just say as well that it has come out that Mark Guiu and Christopher Nkunku are both available for this game. Do you see either of those players being involved?
From the bench, potentially, yeah. Neither of them will start. Guiu's not played any football since February, and Nkunku, I don't know when he last played for us, but he's been checked out probably since January, really. But having said that, given our lack of forward options, particularly at striker, it will be an added bonus to have either one of those two available from the bench to switch something up if we need it. It's just nice to have that option again, even though, well, particularly in Guiu's case, going to be very, very rusty.
Yeah, but having said that, though, Guiu has an element to him, perhaps a strength that I think the other forwards don't really have, and that's a lot of physicality. He's young, but, you know, you can almost kind of imagine him in between. I mean, Forest have very, very strong defenders. There's a lot of physicality there as well. And we always talk about our lack of box presence. He doesn't necessarily have the best quality because he is still so young. However, as almost like a surprise off the bench, someone that can maybe head a ball, actually have some aerial threat. Maybe that is Mark Guiu for you. So maybe it's a second half kind of weapon, but I'm hoping we're not resorting to that because, again, that just sort of screams how poorly we have prepared for this year and this season and why we are where we are. Nkunku, personally, I don't really want him involved in this one because, firstly, does he even understand what this game means for us? I don't think so. And secondly, he is already packed up and ready to go. So I don't know. We shouldn't really be resorting to Nkunku either in this one. But I do get it because with how slim our forward options are, it might be a case that we do have to set up kind of defensively without wanting to. Obviously, we know that our fullbacks have been quite creative and they will sort of push up and help offensively. But, you know, we're talking about potentially fielding just 2 or 3 of our kind of, well, include Cole Palmer in this, just 3 of our goal scoring threats, even though Cucurella is better than all of our wingers in regards to goal scoring. So yeah, we'll have to see.
Yeah, the Athletic, they released an article yesterday or the day before about Cucurella, and it was all about how he drifts into the number 10 role and that how actually the way he gets into positions and score goals isn't by accident. And obviously Maresca deserves a bit of credit for that as well. Getting the player to the state. I mean, to be fair, I never saw Cucurella as a goal scoring defender, but now we can say that. But I also feel like that's just a bit of Chelsea heritage there. Like, we've always had fullbacks and wing backs that are capable of scoring us goals, winning us matches. Obviously, we had it with James. I think Gusto last season was pretty good in terms of going up. I don't know how many goals he scored, but I'm sure he got a number of assists. We had Alonso. We had Chilwell, who used to get stuck in. Even Ivanovic back in the day, you know.
Hey, Victor Moses banged a few as well under Conte when we won the league.
I'll be honest with you, mate. Oh yeah, it's true. I mean, I was never a fan of Moses. I
Mate, he
don't
was
know what it was
class
about
that season. That wing back, he
No,
was brilliant.
I'm not disputing that. See, do you know that there's some players, no matter what they do, you'll never like them, and that's just me and Victor Moses.
Fair enough.
I just didn't really rate the guy, especially in the second season because it was quite a big downfall after that. But yeah, no, fair play to him. He did have a good season. I won't dispute that. But for me, it was always Alonso, mate. That was my guy. Loved Alonso. We've got to move on and talk about some of the latest news as well regarding the club in terms of transfers. Oh, actually, God, we still didn't. Can you believe this as well? Anthony Taylor's going to be the referee for this game. This is the 5th Chelsea match of the season. That
come on, it's season finale. Did you expect the villain not to turn up for the last episode?
To be fair, though, we have actually won our last 3 games when he's refed. So I don't know if it's that big a deal.
He was there for Fulham, Tottenham, Bournemouth, and the opening day at Man City. So
was that the day he gave out like 15 yellow cards?
That was away from home. So we won those 3 games. But well, I mean, I can remember Bournemouth. He was shocking at Bournemouth. I remember that very well. Tottenham, walk in the park wouldn't have been too hard. Fulham, I mean, we had to scramble our way through that one as well, didn't we?
Yeah, and then so look, obviously not ideal with the recent history, but to be honest, we won our last 3 games of him. I don't think this is as big an issue as what some people think it might be.
No.
But at the end of the day, you could have any ref and they could make a fucking disastrous decision.
Well, the problem is that he has won every game. That's the issue we've got, Charlie, and it's always the big ones as well. Actually,
I mean,
this is our cup final, mate. And our cup final record with Taylor is pretty bad.
If we're blaming referees for not making the Champions League, we haven't done our job. As simple as that. Like, we shouldn't be in a position where we're looking to blame referees if we don't do it.
It's a proper, I was going to say a Spursy mentality, but seems like that would get you a trophy this season. God. Can you imagine if we don't win a trophy? Oh my God. If Tottenham get Champions League and we don't, and on top of that, they've got a trophy, then that is just mad. But do you know what? The only thing that I can say about that is I was happy for Ange. I was happy for him. Like, as a person, forget Tottenham. I mean, to be honest, the way you get over the Tottenham side is just think about who lost. Don't think about who won. Think about
and also the positive from the Spurs win is the Arsenal banter as well, because now Tottenham have got more history in Europe than Arsenal do. So that's always a plus. And plus, I don't look at Spurs as a threat to Chelsea in any way whatsoever. Don't get me wrong, I didn't want Spurs to win, but I wasn't like actively cheering United on either. So it is what it is. I don't really care, to be honest.
They deserve every single bit of it, mate.
But one thing I would say is like, mate, that must be one of the best quotes in football ever. I always win in my second season.
It's an iconic move.
And then he does it with fucking Tottenham.
Mate, but it's not even a Carabao Cup. It's a European trophy.
It's a European trophy, yeah.
But to be fair, like, Ange deserves it, because to be fair, it was so evident that he just put all his eggs into that tournament and just, you know, like the league was completely neglected. But at least you can now say fair play, like it actually worked out.
They bombed off the league early doors. I mean, you can't do that every season. Sack the league.
Well, no, of course not. But you know, he's
win a cup.
The trophy. So
yeah, no, it's a good moment for him, absolutely. But he still needs to go. At the end of the day,
can I just say that because obviously, guys, I'm in North London. It is a happy place here. I'll tell you. But literally, was down at the pub yesterday. They're all repping. I mean, obviously, they printed the Bilbao champions shirts overnight, so everyone's been to the shop in the morning, and they're all repping it. You know, they got the caps, they got the shirts. It's insane. It's like, yeah.
You're not wearing the cap, are you, Nina?
No, I'm not wearing the cap.
So
I'm gonna get the Conference League one.
Yeah, no, I don't think I can buy any Conference League merch.
Are you serious? Come on, Charlie, mate.
We've got to tell our kids one day that, you know, that night in Poland, you know.
If we win, I'll probably get the Conference League shirt as a memento. But other than that, I'm not buying any Conference League scarves or any shit like that.
You can get some exclusive stuff. So, you know, like...
You can, mate. An actual Conference League shirt. It's like green and black.
Yeah, but you know, like, well, you've been to boxing, Charlie. You know, like when you go to a boxing match, they've got the shirt from the fight, and you can only get it when you're at the fight. Yeah. I think they have something similar as well. Like in Porto, they have these shirts. Yeah. So I'm guessing they'll have like well, it will have the Conference League trophy on it, and then it'll have Warclaw, and then it's just nice, isn't it? It's just pleasant. So definitely something worth. I'd pay. What would you pay for that? I'd pay 60, 70 quid for something like that. It's good memorabilia.
I'll have a look when we're there in the fan park. We'll have a look.
Oh, well, I'll see you down there anyway. And Nina, you're going to Poland later down the line, so you can. You can still say you've been to Poland.
They might be discounted by then.
Just so a month later.
Get a decent deal, yeah.
True. Right, let's move on to some of our transfer news as well, guys. I mean, lots of talk regarding strikers. Not surprising. We were linked with Rodrigo, but apparently that's sort of gone downhill. Doesn't seem like there's much sort of leeway there. One player that I've heard about a lot within the past sort of 24 hours is Victor Osimhen, but not in a positive light. It seems like Saudi Arabia is the destination for him. He says that he doesn't care about money. At least I don't think he said that publicly, but he acts like it. But for me, this is just a guy who just wants the bag. And I think his current salary is 290k. I don't even think the issue is matching those wages. I actually think he wants a pay rise. Because am I wrong, Charlie? Please tell me if I am wrong. He wants 13 million net a season. Am I correct in saying that?
That's what one of the reports was saying. It's like a net 12 million euros a season.
After tax.
It's after tax, yeah.
That's $250,000 after tax, mate.
So basically, it's basically 250k net, so after tax. So that basically works out more at well over 300 grand a week. Now, you can argue this both ways. At some point you can say, do you know what? Chelsea need to bite the bullet. If they want a top striker, they need to pay the money. If you want to improve and bring someone in that's going to take you forward. I get that point of view. But I also look at the point of view and think, when you've got Mikel saying all this stuff, he bleeds blue, it's this, is that, he wants to play for the club, he wants to come. So if you're that desperate to come, back yourself and you can still earn your money. You can still earn that money. You just have to perform to earn more of it, which I don't think is an unreasonable thing to do. But then also from his perspective, he might think, you know what? I back myself. This is my worth. I think I'm worth this much. If you don't want to pay me that, I'll go somewhere where I'm going to be paid it. And if he wants to go and secure the bag in Saudi, fair play to him. Good luck. The lifestyle is unbelievable. He'll be paid an absolute fortune. And if that's what he wants to do, fair play to the lad. If you want to come to Chelsea, great. If you don't come. It's very simple. But it would be a shame to see a player of his quality not come to the Premier League. But ultimately, it's not just Chelsea that don't see value in the deal. It's pretty much every club in Europe don't see value in a deal for Osimhen on those wages. So why
do you think they're not willing to pay him that money? Because he is one of the best in class. There's no doubts about that. So, we look at a lot of strikers. I think a lot of clubs would really dive in their pockets, but it's just a step too far then.
But I just don't think. I think nowadays with how strict the FFP stuff is and whatnot, I just don't think clubs, particularly in the Premier League, are going to be offering those massive contracts that they might have done in the past. Like under Roman, we would have offered that money. But I think things are a little bit different now, and I think FFP is perhaps more stringent than it was back then, potentially. So yeah, I just don't see the value. And obviously the way that we recruit now is very different to how we previously recruited in terms of a wage structure and in terms of the fact we're looking for value for money, we're looking to be sustainable long term or whatever. And yeah, I get it, it's frustrating, it annoys me. At some point to move forward, you have to sign top players, and to do that, you have to pay the top money. And we constantly hear, Chelsea prepared to do that. Until we start seeing action, it's all just hot air and nonsense until we actually see action being taken. Like, we can all say a load of stuff, but until there's actually evidence that we're going to do it, no one's going to believe it. And that's exactly the situation we're in right now.
Yeah, well, that's what I keep saying, because I've been back and forth with this, where I said that, I don't really believe that Chelsea will amend this wage structure or give leeway for a player that deserves it to, go away from it. But I always thought that maybe that changes, excuse me, if we get Champions League football, because it's different gravy. You have to buy a different caliber of players, at least one. If you're not going to buy a couple, just one to elevate you, upgrade you instantly. And I always thought that, given the benefit of the doubt that will happen. But, if you're not going to do it for a player like Osimhen, clearly not going to do it for maybe a player like Rodrigo, whatever, then clearly we're not going to actually entertain any deals that means we have to go away from the wage structure we've implemented, right? So that changes things, because then it just means that, once again, do you really trust that we'll manage to upgrade the squad with the additions of players that come in, if they're going to have to adhere to what we can offer in terms of wages?
Yeah, I appreciate why when I saw who was it that come out with the amount he wants net? Was it Fabrizio?
Yeah, it was Fabrizio. Yeah,
It was Fabrizio. I can't find it anywhere, man. I was trying to find it yesterday, but I definitely remember reading it. So I'm glad you remember as well.
He said it on a YouTube video.
Right.
And it was tweeted out by some aggregators and stuff. But I'm pretty certain it was him that said it.
Okay. Yeah, because if it just came to matching his current wage, then there is a part of you that's like, come on, Chelsea, come on, guys, just suck it up. But if it's a pay rise, if it's about not fitting into our structure, especially if we're getting Champions League as well, and then he just doesn't want to take the cut if we don't achieve our targets, for me, that's I don't agree with it. You either want to be a part of what we're doing or you don't. I think we could still offer some very generous terms, but it seems like we're going to be going for more affordable options. Liam Delap is a name that's obviously coming up a lot. I've heard Benjamin Sesko, Hugo Ekitike as well. I mean, let's talk about those three and just sort of dive into them. I don't know who you prefer, Nina. Me personally, if I had to pick out of the three, I think that honestly, Sesko is probably the most proven. Although Ekitike's statistics are better this season, we've known about Sesko for a couple of years. But the nice thing you get with the lap, as opposed to both of those players, is a cheaper alternative. And we know that he can play in the Premier League as well. He's proven himself in this league, obviously, during his time at Ipswich. Where do you see us going? I mean, maybe you don't like any of those options. I'm not sure.
Okay, how do I say this? Not that I don't like any of those options. There's still a big what if, and that kind of element to is he enough instantly is a big question that you can pose to all of them. Now, obviously, historically, we do have some trouble with completing business with Bundesliga clubs. They're not always very successful, so got to have that in mind. I think we'll go out and sign Delap either way, because I think that the club has just really settled on that prospect. It's not a bad option in terms of financially getting over the line. He's got that kind of 1 year in the Premier League to his name, and in all kind of aspects of it, it's kind of the perfect profile really that they will look at. And I'm not a big fan of Sesko in full stop, period. Yes, he scored goals, but, in terms of him coming to Chelsea and being, again, what upgrades us, I don't completely trust him. And also, does he really fit in the Premier League and replicate these numbers? I don't know. I'm not too sure.
Why don't you trust him?
I don't know. I've watched a couple of his games. I obviously watched him at the Euros. I think he was a bit underwhelming, and I know that we shouldn't really judge a player off that, but I just think he can be inconsistent as well. In terms of finishing, fine, but in terms of all of the other components, I'm not too sure he's that complete striker, that complete forward that comes to Chelsea and upgrades us. I don't know. I have my apprehensions, but maybe that's because I've always been so set on an Osimhen or a Gyökeres, and my standards are a little bit higher than that. But
I mean, I haven't even mentioned Gyökeres, but that's because he's not popping up at all. So it doesn't look like there's any interest.
And fine, yeah. Again, that's not happening. That's not really the route we're going to go down. So I understand that, but I don't know. I think we will. If I'm in their minds, I think we're going to go and get Delap, because, again, it's just a good signing in every kind of aspect for them. And then maybe we'll bring in someone else. But I'm not too sure. I'm just not too keen on Sesko. I don't know why.
Are you, Charlie?
Yeah, look, it's obviously, look, Delap's obviously the best value for money option. There's no denying that. £30 million represents a good value for money deal and a decent deal. And he's the profile of striker that would complement the squad well. That would give us a more balanced squad, that would offer that box presence, that would offer better finishing. That obviously we haven't got with Jackson. He's a bit of a shithouse as well, which is always an added bonus. When you look at players like Ekitike and Delap, I mean, this season, Ekitike, this is the first season that he's posted any meaningful numbers in his career. Now,
it's a breakout season. It's literally a breakout season.
And you would like to see a bigger body of work, but at some point, you have to take a gamble on a player, because if you don't, someone else will. You could say, let's wait and see how he does over next season and maybe the season after. At that point, he might become even more expensive, or someone else takes a gamble on him after one season and he turns out to be great. And then you're thinking, why didn't we do that? So, look, in terms of value for money, look, Frankfurt want us between 80 to 100 million euros. It's about 65 million pounds up to 85 million quid, which is a lot of money for someone with really one good season of work. I mean, when he was with Marmoush at the first half of the season with Frankfurt, he's played very well. Second half, after Marmoush left in January, he has dropped off a little bit. I like Ekitike, but the profile is very, very similar to Nicholas Jackson. He's basically Jackson, but with better finishing. And I would, like, Ekitike for me would make sense if you were selling Jackson. But if you were looking to bring another striker in, Ekitike is virtually the same profile as Jackson. But then in regards to Sesko, unique profile, box presence, would offer you something very, very different to what we've got. Great ball striking. He's very good finisher. Got a very good catalogue of goals. Scores all types of goals. He's obviously still raw. He's unique. But again, 80 million euro release clause. It's expensive.
Not to justify that, isn't it?
But again, sorry, quickly,
just
if you look at all the strikers, right, other than Delap at 30 mil, Osimhen's 65 million pound release clause, Gyökeres around the 60, 65, Ekitike 65 to 70 million he's going to cost you, Sesko the same. So all four of those strikers, transfer fee wise, are all going to cost you roughly the same, give 5-10 million either side. So there's very little discrepancies between the transfer fees for those four players. The thing's going to be obviously in the wages and the total package, and basically the biggest issue here is, what do Chelsea see as the best value? Now, I think we need two strikers. If you've got Delap plus one more, I think that would be a good result. But yeah, it's tricky. Like with any signing, every signing's a gamble. And yes, you would want someone more proven, maybe like an Osimhen or a Gyökeres, but there's no guarantees that an Osimhen or a Gyökeres would come in and make a bigger impact than an Ekitike or a Sesko, for example. Like you'd like to think that. You'd like to think that. But there's actually no guarantees.
No, but true, Charlie. But then I think, what we need to do is, because we have taken a gamble on this many players in our recent transfer windows, that we just maybe need to go the other way and just look with a more proven track record. Because obviously, I agree with you. We have done both. We have brought in the high caliber 100 million signings and they have flopped. And we've also done the other way and have flopped. But I just think with how we've been going, I think we just need to go away from that pattern and again strive the other way and maybe go for someone with a bit more of a proven track record. Because yes, there's no guarantee for anyone, but if you want to take a gamble, then still do it, but with that player, with that player that's going to cost you more.
I absolutely agree. Of course, we absolutely need to be bringing in top quality operators that are going to make an instant improvement to the first team. And an Osimhen and a Gyökeres are the two strikers available this summer that are going to give you the biggest guarantee to elevating you to the level that you need, and they absolutely improve the first team. All the other signings improve the squad, by the way, but do they improve the first 11 enough and to the level we're looking for? Not straight away. Whereas I think an Osimhen or a Gyökeres, there's more guarantees that they would. But ultimately, I think it's going to be one of three. We're going to either end up with a Delap, Ekitike, or Sesko. That's my feeling right now. I mean, the club could have something up their sleeve, but right now, everything that's out there, it'll be one of those three, in my opinion.
I agree. I think one of the if people are interested in the Delap deal, at least, which I personally have no problem with it. I think it's a good deal. and I'm really saying that based on the fact that I don't think Osimhen will come to Chelsea. I don't think Osimhen wants Chelsea.
It doesn't.
I think he wants
he wants it. He wants it with the right money. If he offered him the money, he'd come. Like, he'd go anywhere if the money was right.
Yeah, so I don't really look at Osimhen, and it's a two-way street, isn't it? So I don't think that deal's realistic. I think we miss out on Gyökeres to Arsenal, or Liverpool, to be quite frank, because I don't know. I just think that project, especially Liverpool, you look at that project, like he's basically going to start every game, and on top of that, he's already joining an established winning team, and I don't think that it's quite the same at Chelsea. You don't have that. I don't want to say guarantee of success, but obviously, like any player, if you join a team that's just won something, you're obviously going to have a little bit more confidence that you'll win something again, and the cycle continues. Right? I think the one thing that United would have been able to offer is, we know that he would rather be based in Manchester. He prefers that part of the country. But I think he's got to look at it from a professional point of view and just go, well, listen, I might like Manchester. I might be the number one at Manchester. But there's a reason for that, because they are dross, and they got no European football now. And I think that, to be honest, that is going to be a key factor in this saga. So I think if we want the lap, we'll get the lap. Although I'm hearing 150 grand a week, not sure if that's a realistic wage for him. I think, me personally, I'd be happy with 120, because that means he's on less than Palmer. As long as you're not making more money than Palmer, then I can probably justify it.
And I think he can live with that. No.
Well, he's on about 45, so it's not exactly
it's
not a bad increase, is it?
That's what I mean. For the one advantage, the one kind of positive of that is you've got a player that will, happily take that, because again, it's a huge step up and upgrade for him personally anyway, and you don't find yourself having a player who's requesting things, who is, eventually somewhere down the line sulking about things, and that there's all this conundrum for no reason. So that's a positive, but yeah, I guess we'll wait and see. But in their books, it's literally the perfect signing, isn't it?
Yeah. He's cheap, he's affordable, he's young, and he's Premier League proven, at least over one season. And he offers us a different profile, so it's refreshing in that sense. Two players as well that are being linked with West Ham of all clubs. There's actually three players being linked with West Ham. We've got Chalobah, Tosin, and West Ham are also keeping tabs on Disasi's situation as well. I'm not surprised that these links are out there. I'm not surprised that Tosin is being linked with a move away. Makes perfect sense. I think that's probably the main reason we signed him, to be honest with you, because we knew that if whatever bid we would get for him, we would make money on him, based on the fact that we got him on a free. And I said before, I don't think this will happen now. I said sell Tosin, get Jonathan Tah in. You get a great like-for-like upgrade in terms of height, but you get a little bit more quality, and you get a proven player as well. What do we think Tosin's worth, guys? And just on Chalobah and Disasi as well. I mean, can you see either of those players making a move to West Ham? Because obviously, especially Chalobah, he's actually worked with Potter before when he was a Chelsea manager. He played a number of times for him.
Tosin, I could see potentially moving. There was links with Brighton in January. I reckon you could get maybe 20-25 million pounds for him. Yeah. I wouldn't have an issue of him staying as a fourth choice centre back or something like that. I don't think that's a problem at all. But yeah, look, if an offer comes in, then that Chelsea think is good value, then I could see that potentially happening. Disasi we know is going to leave. Just a question of where. I doubt he'd go to West Ham. He'd probably go to Europe or go to a team with European football. And then Chalobah, he's going to always be linked with moves away, but he's far, far better than West Ham. He's just been called up to the England squad today for the first time, which is massive for him. And he keeps proving the doubters wrong time and time again. He's gone from the bomb squad to the free lines. And, this is a guy they tried to get out last summer, forced him to train away from the club, sent him on loan. He continued to back himself, put the work in, and now he's been one of Chelsea's best players over the second half of the season and is constantly proving everyone wrong. So Chelsea, in my opinion, were making a big mistake if they sold Chalobah this summer.
Yeah, I think Tosin probably 15-20 million, I'd say. maybe an absolute max, but I think he'd be well suited to a team like Brighton because, again, Tosin isn't a bad defender, I don't think. He's obviously shown he had a bit of longevity, 4 or 5 years, whatever, at Fulham, and seems to be a decent servant for them. And, he did quite well. I always think that, I don't think it's fair to really judge. I think I've been a bit harsh on some of our defenders, but I think, I do cut them leeway because there's been so much transition in our back line in recent kind of years, and we don't really have, since Thiago Silva left, there's been a lot of interchanging, and we have a different pretty much starting back line every game. And we've had problems with goalkeepers, etc. So it has been difficult to settle into some sort of stability. So to have that elsewhere, I think, he'll probably benefit from that and might even have a better time as well. But I feel so indifferent to players like Tosin. It's a bit rude, but, it's like you don't really, no one ever really says, Tosin, we need Tosin to start or let Tosin start in this game. I think from a particularly like aerial ability, I've maybe been a little bit disappointed. I think, when he's height and physicality,
so tall, he should do better, really.
Not offered much, really, and I think we have really missed a lot of height in our back line. I thought maybe he upgrades us in that department, but that's not really been the case. So maybe a bit unfair to judge him regarding the environment and how in and out he's been of lineups. What can you really do? How can you offer stability? But even like one-on-one defending, that's also been a bit disappointing, hasn't it? So, you talk about kind of the negatives for me personally in isolation of all his qualities. They do outweigh the positives, in my opinion. But that's not to say that he doesn't, fit in elsewhere. So I wish him all the best. But I personally think we should be moving on from a player like that.
I think if you're going to get rid of one of the two, I mean, Disasi would get rid of him anyway.
Yeah,
he doesn't suit what Maresca's doing. Maresca's clearly not interested in playing him. I think you get slightly more money for Chalobah. Let's just say you get 20 million for Tosin. You could probably get 35 for Chalobah. And I think that's a realistic deal. I think that's also a deal where Chelsea are sort of holding out for the highest amount. At his best, I think Chalobah was probably worth about 40, 45. But I don't think he's had his best season, but he's had a decent season. And it's like you said, Charlie's proven that he's just a professional, isn't he? If I could keep one of the two, obviously I would keep Chalobah. But the nice thing about having a player like Tosin in there is he's one of those players that I don't think he expects to start. I don't think he's surprised that he doesn't start every week, but he's still happy being at Chelsea anyway. And I think people sort of undervalue how important it is to have people like that in your squad, because you can have players like that all over the pitch that aren't going to start every week, but they're not necessarily content with that. Vega's a great example, and João Felix as well. So it's all right having a player of a certain quality, but also it's about how they fit into the dressing room and whether they're actually a stable player to have within the squad as well. Because if everyone was like João Felix, nobody would ever be able to keep a squad together. You need a group of professionals. You need players that ultimately just understand. Listen, I'm not as good as Fofana. I'm not as good as Colwell when they're available, and that's okay because I'm still a good player. I'm just not as good as them. So I won't play every week, but when I'm needed, I can step in. Loftus-Cheek was a great example of a player who was like that for us. He got benched a lot, didn't he? But when he did step in, I was always a pretty big fan. I'm not saying every game he was good, but I never felt really let down by Loftus-Cheek. And I guess I would say I feel a similar way about a player like Tosin. I don't expect the world, but he's solid enough that I would include him every now and again. And I don't have a problem rotating a player like that within the squad.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that's where we are in terms of the defenders. I'm trying to think if I've missed anyone out. Obviously, we've got I feel like we've covered most of it. I mean, just an update on Caleb Wiley as well. Now that we are talking about defenders, Watford want to get another loan deal for Caleb Wiley. He played 10 times for them, but I'll be honest with you, hearing his name comes up makes me think we need a left back option as well, because if Cucurella gets injured next season, like, we're in big trouble. I mean, we're lucky that he's been available, but who replaces Cucurella as a left back realistically
No, well,
if he gets injured.
There isn't. That's why we need to address it in the summer. It would have been Vega, but I think he'll move on. Looking at Hato at Ajax, which would be a good piece of business to do. And then obviously you've got Ish
Is he a
Samuel.
left back or is he a left centre back?
He's a left back, but he can play centre back.
Right.
And you're looking at Ish Samuel Smith, who signed a long-term contract last month in the academy, highly thought of, but hasn't made an appearance yet. So it is something we need to address for sure.
Yeah. Well, listen, guys, thanks so much for coming on, Charlie and Nina. Appreciate your time. We'll leave their channels in the description, guys. So go and subscribe to Charlie and Nina. Subscribe to Chelsea Fan TV as well if you haven't already. Smash the like button on this video. And as always, big shout out to our sponsors, 7Bet as well. Go and check them out. All the best, guys, and we will catch up very, very soon.